Hi, I'm Pete from Project Heaven Restoration. This is the final update for the Chesil 356 EV conversion. Okay, so a lot has happened since the last update we gave you. We've been busy road testing and snagging the interior, finishing calibration of the control equipment and the gauges and such like that. If we have a quick look around it now, I can show you the finished article. On the interior, we've now got the headrests in. We've also got this hood bag is fitted, and the hood is also fitted to the hood frame, which is underneath this. I'll open that up in a second and show you. Inside the car as well, the dashboard is now fully trimmed. Gauges are all operational. This gauge down here in the center is the most important gauge in the car. This tells you the current charge, so as in percentage of charge remaining in the batteries. It tells you how much current you're using at any one time as well. And it tells you how many hours it's been run for as well. So that's a very useful gauge. You're going to be looking at that quite a lot of the time to make sure that you've got enough juice left to get where you're going. Incidentally, the car has around 120, 140 miles range, depending on how you drive it. It takes about 12 to 14 hours for a full charge on a fast charge. That's like a standard charger that you might have at your house, for example. If you were to plug it into an adapter lead that goes to a 13 amp plug, normal plug adapter, then it has to be a lot slower. It's like twice the speed. We could make this 3 times quicker to charge by adding 2 extra chargers in, because the Type 2 charger is 3-phase, so you could have, at the moment we've got one of the phases being used to choose one charger. We could use the other 2 phases on 2 other chargers, or just 1 extra charger, and increase the charging rate. That one charger we've got is 25 amp output, so therefore that's why it takes the time it takes to charge the batteries. But it's fine, just leave it plugged in overnight and it's all done. Okay, so one of the big things we had to do was the calibration on the software for all of the control hardware that controls the batteries, and make sure that nothing's getting overcharged and nothing's going, well, too low in voltage either when you're using the car. There's a safe range of voltage that the batteries has to remain within at all times. Otherwise you can have, a disaster. So, and there's a lot of safety features, because there's also temperature sensors as well. So you've got temperature sensors, voltage taps, and there's a lot of them that have to be monitored, and they all have to be working correctly and reporting back correctly. And all the safety features turned on. So all that stuff is done now. And all the parameters for charging are all set up as well, so it won't overcharge or anything like that. Another thing that we've done, of course, it's pretty obvious. We've put the bonnet on and the boot on. And we've also put new badges on it, been through the whole car and detailed it. Next up, Harry's going to take it for a test drive.
So it's my pleasure to test drive another of our EV conversions. We've done a lot of work on this car. Unlike the black Porsche we did before, we've done an electronic conversion, but we've also done the paintwork on it, real special, unique paintwork, and we did a bit of design work with the customer to see exactly what he wanted, but it's had quite a transformation. So I'm just going to test drive the electronic components of the car. The car's now finished. We've done all the important testing. This is just sort of an acid test with somebody who's used to driving electric cars. And this is quite good because this Porsche is quite similar to, I had a electric Mini Cooper S, a new one, and the performance is very similar. The weight's similar. We've got 5 Tesla batteries, 3 in the front I think and 2 in the back, or vice versa. So the weight is very evenly distributed. So it's quite cool to be driving an older car, albeit a replica, but an older style car. And it feels very much the same. It's just as pokey. The performance is really good, but you can feel that natural balance because the weight's distributed across the car. So we're using in this 5 Tesla Model S batteries, which is really, they're good quality batteries for the weight and capacity. They work really well. And this it just suits the car. The car's so quick. It's 118 horsepower Just trying to remember the figures, 180 horsepower, 129 or 139 pound-foot of torque, but it's instant, so the second you put your foot down, it's there, the whole lot is delivered. I just remember in the Mini being so quick, and it's exactly the same in this. It's just instant torque. It's a brilliant sensation. The other thing that's quite important in this car is it has electronic servo for the brakes, so the brakes still work nice and light like we're used to driving in modern cars, but usually obviously in a internal combustion engine there's a vacuum that can provide pressure to the master cylinder and make it work smoothly, but in electric you can't do that because you've got no vacuum source. So there's a control electronic version of that which gives it basically electronic brakes, so it works really well, it performs really good, nice and light on the brakes. When you need to stop in an emergency you can stop pretty quick. And yeah, just generally, I mean, everything about this is really good. I like that it has a gearbox as well. So obviously a lot of electric cars, they literally just have one speed, no gearbox. But the way this conversion works onto the existing bow housing of the gearbox, there's still a gearbox function here. So if I want to go accelerate really quickly, I can put it in a lower gear, and then if I want to poodling along, there's still plenty of torque to put your foot down, and it still goes really quick. It just slows that motor down a little bit. So I just want to talk a little bit about the design work that we went through building this. So when the customer came, he had the idea of, he bought a bag, a golf bag, which had these colours on, and we wanted to do it this colour for him, but the whole idea was, although we're putting a modern, very modern electric conversion in, it's got to feel like an old car. It's got to feel, it's got to look and feel about it, and it makes you feel like you're still in a classic car. So that's exactly what we did with the design work. We went for this matte paint work, and then the stripes are designed for the Golf logo and everything. If you look really closely at it, we didn't do a crisp, perfect style. We did a classic retro feel, the patina to the paint. We artificially made it look like it was dated. In that way, it looks like the old classic Golf colours. We added in gold logos. We added in the lights, the front lights, which are a yellower, older style lights. So we repurposed older lights and cleaned them up and gave them an old style. We added the mesh to the lights. All these things, the distressed leather look inside, make it feel like it's a classic car, even though it is just, it drives like a modern car. It's brilliant. The great thing about electric conversion is not only the cost side of it, obviously running it is cheap. The other cool thing about it is if you just want to go in and just drive it and have no hassle, it's really simple to do. You just get in, you put your foot on the accelerator, you go. It's that simple. You know, when you're driving with the top down, you can drive through the village and you get a lovely relaxed feel about everything. You can hear what's going on, you can hear the birds singing. It's a lovely experience to drive. It's so pointy. It's an older style chassis the way it works, but it's so pointy and easy to drive. You could cruise in this car a long distance and have no problems. This is my first experience really driving this car on any length of time, and it feels really good. It doesn't feel like a brand new car that you get in and everything is just pointy, edgy. It feels like a classic car, but you can really sense the performance, the balance, the braking's excellent, the acceleration's phenomenal, as you would expect. Just got back from the test drive, really love this car. I think it's fantastic. It feels like a classic car, but it has all that easiness of driving electric, which is really cool. And I think everything works really well on it. Suspension's lovely. I'm really impressed with this, actually. I think it's really good. But let me just talk you around the paintwork and the design side of what we've done to the car. So obviously, because it's an older looking car, we wanted it to look old, even though we were redoing all the paintwork and everything. So these are the colours that the customer chose. He bought us in a bag. and it had the basic colours for us. The basic colour for the blue, the orange, the blues and whites that go into the decals and badges, then the browns as well, which will along the edge of the bag. That's what all the brown theme came from. But we wanted to make it look dated. So these aren't stickers, these are all hand painted. So we painted all these sections, and what we did is we made it look distressed. So we didn't want the paint to look fresh, we wanted it to look old paint. So that's how we made all this distressed look on the badge. So it looks like it's a lot older than it is. So that was really cool doing that, actually, quite good fun. But that took quite a lot of hours to do. We wanted this sleek design that looked down, but when we lined it up dead straight, it didn't quite look right because of the shape of the front. So we expanded the bottom areas here so it spread out, and that carries on right the way over the tailgate as well. So that looks really cool. Then we had these older style lights that we bought, these Lucas lights, and then we painted the inside yellow to give it a more dated feel. A lot of the cars of this time would have had yellow lights, so that made it look older. Then added these protectors to the lights as well to make it look older. Obviously the white wall tyres have gone on as well, which look really cool. So originally they were just normal sort of steel wheels with the chrome hubs. So we repainted those to be a gloss black with the white wall tyres, and then the gloss caps, chrome caps as well on the outside. So all in all, it looks a lot older than it is. Same with the leather. Wanted to go for a more distressed, older looking leather, again to make it look older, and the piping as well. Same sort of blue as in the badge. So that just adds to the feel of it being a dated car. Then the luggage rack, of course, as well had to go on to make it look like a Tourer, and the older style gold badges as well. So that all in all makes it feel like it's a classic car, even though it's been completely redone.
Okay, so I'm currently logged into the battery management system for the 356 EV. We logged in via a serial cable to USB adapter using a piece of software called Putty. Now, on here we can see all of the current cell voltages, all of the cell temperatures, and the layout of the cells, how they're arranged in the software, so how they're understood. And then also all of the configuration settings, max and minimum voltage settings and safety parameters. So you can see here at the moment, everything's working really well because all of these cell values are pretty much exactly the same. And that's also helped by the fact that balancing is enabled and working correctly, which balancing keeps all of the individual cells at the same voltages. If you had too much drift, one of the cells going way out of parameter, then you'll only be able to charge up to whatever that value is and then discharge down to the value of the lowest cell. Don't know if I've explained that very well, but basically it reduces your amount of range that the car can give you. So anyway, everything here is perfectly happy and working correctly, so we're all good. I would advise that the customer themselves doesn't actually access this and changing the settings on here, because the results could be pretty dangerous if you allow it to overcharge and it would catch fire, for example, potentially. So the best thing to do is maybe every year, bring it back in, let me log into it and just check that everything is still happy, everything is still functioning as it should be. One final thing to note about safety on these cars, because obviously there's a lot of bad press going around. If you're having a car converted by a company to EV, I would suggest you ask them to show you these screens and have them explain to you what the safety features are and how they work. Because, it has been known that sometimes if a cell isn't quite what the installer wants, they'll just disable that readout, or they'll disable, say, a temperature readout because it's not working correctly. Whereas that's an absolute no-no. Every single cell needs to report, and every single temperature readout needs to report, because otherwise you have no idea. It would only take one of those cells to go too high in voltage or too low in voltage to cause a really big problem. Okay, so to conclude, I would say that this is one of my favorite conversions. Really, really nice and simple. Everything worked straight away when we put it all in. The kit was fantastic. It's been very reliable through the testing process. There's not really been any major hurdles or anything to overcome. And I just also really like the styling. I think it's really cool. A dead cool piece of kit.